So hello and welcome to the Dharma Life podcast. I'm your host, Aloise.life, and today's guest has got 4 incredible books, which I have 3 of them. And he's an expert in pendulum healing and pendulum alchemy. And the reason I really wanted to get Erich Hunter on the show is because pendulum healing has been something that's been so useful in my Ascension journey. And whenever I discover something, I like to go to the person that I consider the expert. So Erich Hunter, welcome to the Dharma Life podcast.
Thank you, Aloise. It's an honor to be here. It's always great to hear that people are interested in my work and studying it. So I'm flattered. Thank you very much.
And we've already established that we are fellow star seeds. We've just had the star seed conversation as well. But exciting times on the planet, Erich. But do you mind giving my listeners a little bit of an overview about your work, who you are, what you're doing in the world?
Yeah, sure. So let's see. How did I get started with this? All right. So growing up, I had a lot of paranormal experiences with like ghosts and things like that. But I grew up in New York, and my family were like New York intellectuals, and my dad was an artist. My mom's an educator. So they didn't believe in spirituality or anything like that. Like I never went to church or anything like that. So, but I had all these abnormal experiences, but I also love nature. So I was really interested in nature. So those 2 things were kind of playing out through my existence. And as I matured, I had to decide what I was going to do with my life. And I had a relative who was like, oh yeah, you need to become a banker and work in Manhattan in New York City. And I was like, I don't think so. So I used nature. I studied nature. So I went to Cornell University and I studied biology. Specifically, I studied the evolution of insects. And then that was sort of my way to explore like the natural world and not have to go into, some kind of a very mundane type job. And so I had a lot of success in that area. And then I went on, was an educator, but the whole time I had a spiritual life that was under the surface that no one in my lines of work could ever understand or appreciate, or they would just ridicule and think it was, absurd. So I had this whole private life, and there was a conflict that was constantly on the surface, where I'd be having these mystical experiences and amazing things. But then during the day, I was a very sober educator, scientist.
Left brain, right brain.
Yeah, what was that?
Left brain, right brain. So the analytical side, and then the
totally. And I'm a published researcher. I've described a new species of insect. I study fossils. I worked at the American Museum of Natural History as an intern for a while. I had all these really rich academic experiences, and I have a research PhD, and I was an educator consultant for like 10 years. Anyway, so to make a long story longer, I had this conflict developing, and then I had this vision that if I ever won the Educator of the Year award in the school system I was at, that would be the start of my new life. And so it took 10 years. I was waiting like every year. So finally I just surrendered to the job, and I'm like, okay, I just have to do this job and just put my heart and soul into it. And so I did. And then that's when the door opened. So I was one Educator of the Year, and then they very conveniently laid off the entire staff.
Wow.
I was like, okay, but then I kind of was denying my path, like the hero's journey. I was sort of resisting the calls. So I tried to stay in education, and spirit just clubbed me over the head. And then I was like, that was around 2012. So I was like, okay, what am I going to do? I was like, I've always wanted to live in California. So I moved to California. I met my twin flame there.
Aww.
And while I was there, I was trying to figure out what my life was about, because I was living in the Bay Area. And then I moved down to Ojai, California, which is a really spiritual place. So I was trying to figure out, what am I going to do with my life? And then on my honeymoon, I went to Bali, Indonesia. And when I was there, I apprenticed with a healer for 2 months. Who we met as an indigenous person, really cool. And then I decided I wanted to be a healer, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I was really interested in alternative back pain treatment, because I had cured myself of lower back pain. And I had all these easy things you could do to cure it very quickly. And so I was trying to do that, but no one was really taking the bait. There was no interest in it. Universe didn't want me to do that for some reason. And I was in Ojai, and I said, well, I saw this thing, it was like reach out to other healers. It's like a Doreen Virtue thing or something. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to contact some healing centers. So I did, and I contacted this one place. And I said like, well, I want to give a talk. And they're like, great, what do you want to talk about? And I was like, how about lower back pain, alternative treatment? They're like, no, I don't think so. I went through a whole list of different things that I was like, and they were like, no, no. And then finally I was like, well, what about this stuff with pendulums that I do? You're interested in that? And they were like, oh yeah, pendulums. They were like, do that for sure. So I gave the talk, and
was this one of your secret kind of behind the scenes?
It was just this weird thing I was doing. I saw it on Guy MTV or something, like Secrets of the Ancients, like how to use pendulums or something. I don't even know like exactly where I saw it, but I just started buying like all these pendulums and playing with it and doing all these experiments. And I was also studying like radionics at the time and all kinds of like things. I was just trying stuff out like very naively. Like, does this work or does it not work? Like, what effect does this have? And I was just doing all this. And I had no intention of turning this into a career or teaching or anything. It wasn't my objective at all. And so they said to me, that's it. And then while I was giving the talk, this guy just would not stop. He was like, you have to write a book. He's like, I'm not going to let you finish this talk unless you promise that you're going to write a book right now. And I was like, okay. I was like, all right, I'll do it. So I went home, and the talk was a success, but I went home and I was like, well, how do you publish a book? And I was like, well, you can do it on Amazon, it turned out. I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. So I wrote like a little Kindle book, and I made a Facebook group, and all of a sudden people started joining and people started buying the book.
Love it.
Like, whoa. So I started making YouTube videos and people started watching them. I'm like, well, that's interesting. I had no idea anyone cared about this stuff.
Follow the energy. That's just, we call it in our Dharma program, we call it the breadcrumb trail. So you follow the energy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
yeah,
what you were doing.
And then as I did it more and more, I started seeing all these amazing like transformations happen, both with my own use of it and then when other people were doing it too. And at first I was kind of skeptical, like, is it really working? Is it not really working? But then I had a few experiences where it was so clear that it definitely shifted reality in a way that was beneficial, that I became convinced that this stuff works. And then it was really, I started seeing all these people having a lot of success. And I found it was very easy to teach people how to do this, and it works very effectively. So a lot of people get really epic results with this technique with even very little training.
So I'm not a novice, but if someone's listening to this and they're a novice and they're thinking, what is he talking about? Pendulum healing. Can you kind of give us an example, or obviously show us what you're talking about, and then
definitely. I'll
give
just
us a simple explanation of what it is, and then I'd love to hear some of the results that people were getting.
Oh yeah, totally. So so you need a pendulum, and you really want to have a pendulum that has really good energy. And there are a lot of things to that. One of them, it should have a string to protect your hand chakra from energy that's coming from whatever you're trying to work on. But the pendulum itself, if you're clairvoyant or clairsentient or energy sensitive, you should feel it. It should have really good energy, or even see energy coming off of it. If you're not, just get like a pendulum from me or from someone else who sells one specifically for this kind of work. All right, so what does this do? So Pendulum Alchemy, or also known, there's a subset called Pendulum Healing where you're working on healing issues. It's using a pendulum as an energy tool to make something more likely to occur. So it stimulates a system to cause change. So it could be something like somebody is ill and you want them to get better. Mm-hmm. Or it could be something like you want to have more harmonious relationships with people, or you want the line to move faster at the post office or the grocery store. Almost anything that you can think of, if you want to try to influence it, you can use it using the pendulum. So like in terms of like Ascension, a really useful one would be to raise your consciousness level to the highest level possible. Or maybe something like send love to everyone, including your enemies. So I'll just give you an example. So you take your pendulum, mm-hmm. and I try to close my hand so my hand chakra is protected, because your hand chakra does have a lot of energy. Like there are biophotons that come out of your hand, but then also it takes in energy. So you want to kind of protect yourself a little bit from energies on the outside. And then you want the pendulum to be able to move very easily. So you take the pendulum, you just hold it in a way that's comfortable for you. And then you often will state a verbal command, which is a statement of what you want to have happen. So I would say something like, raise the consciousness of everyone watching this call for my highest good, Aloise's highest good, and the highest good of all concerned. Raise our consciousness to the highest level possible. So the pendulum will spin around and it will go in circles. That means it's working. And then when it's done, it goes side to side. Now you'll notice that it didn't really spin a lot and it didn't go very fast. It's because probably you and I and everyone watching this is going to have a high level of consciousness already. They would have to have a high level of consciousness to even get on this video.
Sure.
So, but if you were to do this like for someone who is really angry or something, you might see the pendulum spin more effectively, or like going around in bigger circles, or it might take a longer time. Very quick. So you basically think about what you want to influence or what you want to have happen. You make a very short statement it's a positive affirmation of some sort. You hold your pendulum, you let it spin around in a circle. Either you do it consciously or unconsciously. Your hand is what moves. So you either just make it spin in a circle, or you just sort of let it just kind of happen. And then you just let it spin, and that's where it's working. And then when it's done, it will go side to side. So I'll do another one. Send love to everyone watching this podcast right now. So now it's working. It's taking my consciousness, my voice, my words, and it's putting them into this magic circle that's created by the moving pendulum. The pendulum creates a circle. It's like a sacred space. There's this famous philosopher, Marcel Eliade, who talked about sacred spaces, like, why do you have a sacred tree or a sacred rock or a sacred church? Why do you have a place? It's because it marks off a boundary between the profane world, like just the regular world, and the spiritual world. It creates a special condition where things can happen. So when the pendulum moves in a circle, it creates a space, a sacred space where the normal rules of reality aren't really applying from a metaphysical point of view. Also, if you look at it, it's like a cone, the shape. So like in magic, they talk about the cone of power, or like in Wicca or things like that, talk about a cone of power. So you're essentially creating that using the pendulum. Also, the pendulum, there's so much this, the pendulum itself, when it's moving around, there's energy, right? And then also, like one person I was talking to thinks it might even be creating like a black hole or a vortex almost, where things can go through, because you can do all this as distance healing. It doesn't have to be done in person. So I'm going off on tangents here.
It's interesting because it's intention. Like what I've really learned, on my own spiritual journey, is a lot of the energy work that I do is just clear intention. Because most people are kind of like, well, how does that work? Well, it's just literally you're clear in your energy and your intention. And of course, you're working in the fourth dimension rather than just in the physical. So
right. But the advantage of this is that it adds another layer to intention, because like if you have intention, let's say you just have a thought in your mind, you have other competing thoughts that are possibly going to interfere with that intention. Like you might have some subconscious block or some limiting belief or some doubt or something like that, right? But if you say what your intention is, you separate it from your mind chatter. So you put it out into the world. Like the Theosophists called that like a thought form. It's like words become reality. It's like in the New Testament, the word is what started everything. And there's a really nice quote from Terence McKenna about words create reality. But anyway, so you say something and it has more power. So that's why they always say affirmations, say mantras, things like that. But then when you add the pendulum in, it adds another layer to this that really supercharges or energizes any affirmation that you would make. Because the pendulum is moving, so there's energy there. The pendulum is interacting with light, so that causes like quantum physics effect. It's interacting with your words, the consciousness. It's interacting with the energy field of whatever it is you're working on. So it takes it all to like a next level. So like when I went on your 5D Ascension guide, I saw you had some beautiful affirmations. So if I were to take one of those, I could say something like, I could just say it. Like I could say, I focus on my highest excitement and attract more bliss in my life. Now that's really awesome. But like a lot of times you'll hear people say like, well, you have to repeat it over and over again, or you have to, you have to hold that vibration. But with the pendulum, the cool thing is you could be in a terrible mental state. Your vibration could be really low. But by using the pendulum and using spoken word, you separate your intention from your vibration, and it allows you to put it out in the world, and then your vibration can try to match what's out there. So you're not limited by what's going on inside. So like the pendulum healing works, even, and pendulum alchemy works, even if you're in a terrible mental state.
Sure.
Like even if your consciousness level is really low. So I would say something like, I focus on my highest excitement and attract more bliss in my life. And I just say it once, and I won't repeat it and not say it again. I just wait to the pendulum and I just stop. And then the cool thing is, a lot of times, oh, go ahead.
Well, I do a lot of group activations and group healings. So
yeah, this would work great for that. It works as well with an individual as with a group. You can do it in person or distance. And it doesn't need to be repeated. You can just do it once. You know, just say it once, doom, it's done. It's out there. Now the energy is out there, the thought is out there, and now it can start having an effect. Because my belief is that this stuff stimulates change. It doesn't cause change, it stimulates it. So you have a system like me, right? I want to appreciate and be grateful for my life's wonderful experiences. But currently I'm not, for some reason, because I'm really down in the dumps. So what can I do? Well, I can take my pendulum and just say that, like, I appreciate and I'm grateful for life's wonderful experiences. Now I've put that out in near my energy field using the pendulum. Now my energy field and my consciousness can start trying to reach that and to get into resonance with that idea. And if it's possible, it will try to get there, because we want to heal naturally. We want to be in a higher state of consciousness. So you give it a chance to reach something. But if I just started watching the news, let's say, or I started watching some really low vibration stuff, then my vibration is going to start to match that, and it's going to go even lower or stay where it is currently. So that's one thing going on with this.
So can you give us, sounds amazing, but can you give us, because obviously I really want this to be a practical session for our listeners, because this is all about us, you know, building a 5D life in alignment with our souls. And so can you give us an example where you've seen freaky, amazing stuff happen? And then I would love for us to talk about how our listeners can use this in their ascension journees. So first of all, freaky stories.
Yeah, I mean, there are just so many of them. I mean, literally hundreds. I get like
your favorite one.
So I'll just think of one right now. So like the one I just saw like yesterday on my Facebook group, because I have a certification program where there are people really working on this stuff and learning from me. And I also have a general Facebook group. So in the certification program, one of the students did this amazing healing on a young boy with autism. His mother gave permission, of course. And so what had happened was this boy would refuse to go sit in the doctor's office and get like tests taken without having like almost like an anesthetic. Like the boy had to be drugged basically to sit in the chair. So the person did a chakra healing on the boy with the pendulum. The kid sat in the chair, was totally fine. The mother was like, I can't even believe this is like night and day difference. You know, and it's like, how could working on the chakras of someone, and I don't even know if the child was aware that the chakras were being worked on, you know, so like that kind of thing happens all the time. I've helped people win like lawsuits against impossible odds, but the key thing is it has to be for the highest good of all concerned. Yeah. So to make this practical, think about what, and also to make it in alignment with the 5D, you think about what you want to have happen in your life or in the life of someone you care for. Mm-hmm. That's the first step. What is it you want to have happen? The next step is that you have to state it and also have the intention that it will only work if it's in the highest good of all concerned. That way, everything you do with the pendulum is raising your vibration and bringing you to a higher level of beingness, because I personally believe that as part of the ascension process, we don't need to suffer. Like we should be trying to make our lives better and the lives of those around us better. But we also don't want to force our hand. So you think of what you want, you make a very short statement about it, and then you just say for the highest good of all concerned, and you just use a pendulum to basically energize that statement. That's like the simplest thing. So is there some specific area? Because I have so many examples, it's hard for me to like just draw one out of that. Is it like money, health,
Well, money
and
block
spiritual?
is always one, isn't it? Like our 5D lives are about us really living our purpose. And so I know that people are in that transitional period where they're kind of, like you and I have gone through, where we go from our corporate life and our kind of other life into our magical life. So say somebody's listening and they're kind of they're trying to leave their sucky job. They want to progress into whatever it is their purpose is, but money's not flowing. So how could we help them?
Okay, yeah, sure. So I'll just grab another pendulum here. I'll use this one here. So you take your pendulum. Now, the first step is to realize that that sucky job is probably part of your karmic path, and you have to come to some kind of peace with it. So I would do things like send love to everyone at my workplace, especially the person you hate the most, the person who drives you insane. You want to send them as much love and raise their consciousness to the highest level possible. And then start doing things like harmonize the relationships of everyone in this job. Now you might think, well, why am I doing all that? Because I want to get out of this job. Like, screw those people. I don't want to help them at all. But the thing is, your karmic destiny is somehow tied in with that horrible job. So your first step is to heal your relationship with that job and come to a place of like neutrality and surrender with it. But alternatively, at the same time, you would do things like magnetize the perfect career or job opportunities to me. And now you could put in like a statement to the divine, like an invocation, like dear God or dear goddess, or, dear divine, or my higher self, my higher knowing, help me to know what I need to know, do what I need to do to be, productive, happy, and healthful in this lifetime. So the key thing, I think, is number one, come to peace with your current job, and you can use the pendulum to help do that on an energetic level. Like, let's say you still hate your boss, but if you take your pendulum and say, send my boss love, even though you hate him, like I said, it's separate from your internal vibration. So you're doing the right thing and you get points. Like, and it helps. It raises the vibe, because you'll find that will open the door that will allow you to see what the next step is. So that's part one. Then part two is use it for yourself to try to call in, like, what is it I'm meant to be doing? Give me clarity, show me direction, have the perfect set of synchronicities happen, have the perfect people come and show up, and then the next step is you want to take real world actions, because, like once I did pendulum for money, and then the next day, check for $10,000 came in the mail unexpectedly. That can happen every now and then, but you can't depend on that. So I always stress to people, you have to take real world action. So go out and talk to everyone you know and say, I'm looking for a new job. Talk to everyone. I'm trying to find the spiritual meaning of my life. Go to a seminar, take a workshop, get your 5D profile test done. Whatever you can do to try to find direction and to be able to have the universe give you answers. Because if you just sit in your room or you sit at your job and you're just upset, you don't tell anyone, you don't reach out, no one's going to know. So work on your resume. Start talking to people. Ask people what you think your strengths are, but use the pendulum the whole time. So you send in, you write a resume, raise my consciousness to the highest level possible writing this resume. Okay, you send in the resume, send love and healing to everyone in the human resources department or everyone who's going to read my resume. I ask that the perfect person sees the resume. If it's in my highest good, I'll get the job. You get called in for the interview, send love to the people who are going to interview me, harmonize my relationships with them. I witness myself getting the job if it's in the highest good of all concerned. Okay, so then, go through the process, they offer you the job and you just keep going, like I ask that I get the best salary possible. I ask that it's in the perfect location. You just state what you want, energize it. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's just because we talk about something called intention, attention, no tension. So we set an intention. So you'd use the pendulum when you set the intention, by the sounds of things. And then we call it intention, attention, which is the action. So you take the action around what you were just describing around, putting the resume out or calling people or telling people you want a new job. And then we do no tension, as in we just kind of chill about the whole thing and trust that for what is happening for our highest good. So it sounds to me like it would work really nicely with that kind of process, because
definitely.
Would you say it's kind of just, it speeds up results?
Yeah, definitely. Because it, like I said, it's an accelerator. It adds a layer on top of all this of energy that wouldn't be there otherwise. And it really does accelerate things. But it all depends too on how difficult it is for things to change. So, like, let's say this is what, like, this is where you want to be, and this is
Yeah.
where you are now,
Yeah.
right? You do the pendulum, it will bring you up a little higher. Then you take some actions in the real world, that makes it even more likely to occur, right? So you're getting closer, but it still might not happen. But let's say this is where you want to be. This is where you are now. You do the pendulum, boom, all of a sudden it happens. And then it seems like a miracle. Like, wow, I can't even believe that worked. So, I've had that where I've done spontaneous healings on people. But like the thing was, like, you have no idea when you start how hard it is. How, like, maybe the person's
Sure.
up here, but
Yeah.
maybe they're actually down here. So when you do it with the pendulum, I mean, when you do it without the pendulum, it's still going to increase it, but the pendulum increases it a lot. And then sometimes it will just immediately push it over the tipping point. Other times you have to take action to get you closer. And then also fate is involved too. And you're also your spiritual path. So like random accidents might occur that could make it closer or farther. Or maybe it's just not on your spiritual path to get this done or something to happen. So it just will never make it there. So there's a lot of variables, too many to predict in advance. So it's always good just to try it. And yeah, one thing you said about the no tension, the great thing about the pendulum is that there's a very discrete ending to what you're doing. It's like a ritual. So you take the pendulum, you say your command, let it spin, and then when it stops, you know it's done. So you can just put the no tension part there. It's built in. You don't have to ever think about it again, unless you want to try it again. But you don't need to do it like over and over and
Right.
over,
Just
like
do it
every day.
once.
Right. Just do it once, unless you have some compelling reason to do it more than once. But normally you just do it once and then just see what happens and then just start taking actions and doing things.
And with regards to the swing, like, do you find that the more it swings, like, because when I'm doing my pendulum healing, sometimes I find it's like, whoa, it just keeps going, just keeps going and going and going and going. What would you
Right.
put that down to?
There are a lot of different things that can be going on. Like the whatever you're trying to work on, it could have a block that could be stopping it. Could be the pendulum itself, it's just not effectively sending the energy. So, like that's why I recommend like these healing type pendulums that are really have good energy, because they'll send it more effectively and get through any like weird barriers. Because some pendulums have things that interfere with your signal. So basically, it's like a tool. You want to have a really clean signal. So you want one that is energetically very clean, just very consistent. So it's just sending a very constant signal. So there's nothing interfering with it. So it could be they have a block, the pendulum is not working effectively. You shouldn't be using your own energy for this pendulum work. It's all just your words. You're holding the pendulum, the movement. That's the only energy you should be using. It's not like other healing methods where you put your own energy into it or even you channel energy. You don't do that at all. So if it's spinning for a really long time and you notice you're getting tired, that means you're trying to use your own energy because you're thinking of it like a normal healing technique where you're trying to spend energy or something. So those are probably the three biggest ones. The other one too is like you might be like overly concerned with getting the result and focusing too hard on it. So if you just kind of distract yourself a little bit, sometimes it will stop more quickly. Also, like sometimes if you just do it and it's taking, like when I do this, it never lasts more than a few seconds. But if it's over a minute in length or 2 minutes, that's kind of getting to a point where it's too long. At that point, I would just take a short break, let everything kind of settle in, and then come back and try it again. And a lot of times you'll see it just goes really fast the next time.
Right.
Because it was taking a while for things to be influenced. So the energy has been sent, and if you just give it a little time to settle in and then you come back and try it again, it's made it to that point. So so that's another way to kind of get around that.
Nice. And you design these, don't you?
Oh, yes.
I'd love to
So, yeah, when I first started off, most of them kind of look like this. They're just kind of these linear, and these are really great, don't get me wrong, but they're just sort of a linear shape with like little geometric discs on them. And I make a lot of these because these are really good. I try to make new designs. Like this is one of my Orion designs. So that's one area. But then also I found that you can make like sculptures almost that also work
Wow.
really well as pendulums. So you can have some beauty, because like I want this to be aesthetically pleasing as well, not just, you know, purely functional. So like this is my Druid one, and it's made with stainless steel. It's actually very good for any kind of coning or earth energy work, geopathic stress healing, but it's also really like beautiful, especially
Yeah,
if you're
it's
into
stunning.
sort of the European, you know, mystical roots. I also have like this one here, the Asclepius. It's the rod of Asclepius. It's a
Yeah.
snake curling around a rod. It's also it's also Isis and the staff of Moses. And so it's like a cool sculpture, but it also has really good energy, and it's good for doing this work. So I want people to have fun while having good tools. But here's one I have that's based on sacred geometry. It's the Merkaba,
I think
but
that's
I have it enclosed in rings.
wow.
So this thing has amazing energy. It's like one of the ultimate ones for working on the aura or the chakras. You just hold this over someone's body, and you just like let it spin, and it will just balance out their chakras and repair any holes in the aura, like without you even saying any commands or anything.
Amazing.
It just works really well. Like once I even like
Stunning.
found, yeah, thanks. Yeah, once I found a mouse that had been like caught in one of those horrible glue traps, and it was like half dead. And so I got it off the little trap, and it really looked like it was going to die. And I just took this pendulum, and I just like put it in a little container. I just kept doing it over and over for like maybe an hour. Just every 10 minutes or 20 minutes, I did it. It came back to life and just ran away. It was amazing. I was like, wow. So the other thing about these pendulums I design is that a lot of them, I coat them in precious metals. Like this is gold plated. This one is rhodium plated. And the reason I do that is because it has a better energy. It's like a higher frequency. And that's why, like in the past, all those religious objects that they would use for spiritual work were coated in gold and all this stuff. And that's why they were all obsessed with gold back in the day, because it has a really good energy. So if like you're doing work on your Akashic records, you want to have a pendulum that is also really high vibration, because you're going into a really high vibration zone, or you want to get there. So I recommend getting like the nicest pendulum you can for that kind of work, because then you're really setting the stage to get to that place where you want to be, where the vibrations are really high, by having a really high vibe pendulum.
Nice.
Thanks for listening to that.
No, I
I
love
could go
it.
on for days. I when I first started, I must have spent like $10,000 buying pendulums. You know, just trying to figure out like what's good, what's not good, what energy works. I studied them extensively, but now I just create my own, because like after a while I tried all the designs. I was like, well, I want some new ones, you know, want to
Yeah.
make some new things, some new tools, because that's one big thing, helping people get the best tools for the energy that's possible. And a lot of people like, I never understand this. They'll say like, well, it doesn't matter what pendulum you use, but it actually does matter a lot. So like, let's just say you want to do dowsing, right?
Mhm.
So if you have a pendulum that won't move when you hold it, so you see how this thing is right away, it's kind of moving around and dancing with just very subtle movements of my hand. So if you're just trying to get answers to questions, if your pendulum isn't moving instantly when you hold it, you're not going to get good answers, because you need movement to get the answers. So like I see a lot of people make a mistake. They'll take their pendulum and they'll try to hold it perfectly still. And they're like, okay, now I'm going to see if I get an answer. That's a mistake. You just start with it moving right away. And if it's not moving, make it move. So you want a lively pendulum, because movement is what gives you answers. If you inhibit movement, or if you have a pendulum that won't move, you're not going to get answers easily. So have a lively pendulum that's moving right away. It's very easy to move, so it can change direction very quickly with just very subtle hand movements, you know, and you barely notice it. So that's number one. At that level, it's very important. But then number
That's
two,
what I was going to say, though, because obviously if
yeah,
it's moving, it will just shift and change whichever way it wants to go when you ask the question.
exactly. So you always want it to move. Now, the next thing, if you're doing a layer of healing or trying to create magical change, pendulum alchemy, you also want one with really good energy. So if you just have like some, you know, random thing on a string, it may not have good energy. And if you're sticking that in someone's energy field, it might not have any effect, or it might actually have a harmful effect. So you want to have, you know, really good tools for this work. So I completely oppose the viewpoint that it doesn't matter what you use. It
Sure.
really does matter a lot.
And what would you recommend? Because obviously I do a lot of Akashic Records readings and healings. what would you say would be a good one for me to use in the Akashic records?
Oh yeah, let me pull up a picture of it. I have them coming in. They sell so fast that I have to special order them. Let me just pull it up for you. It's called the Akashic Records pendulum.
Oh, it's
It's
actually
beautiful.
specifically, okay, cool.
Yeah, I made it when I was making my Akashic Records course because I wanted to have a really high vibration pendulum that had amazing energy, but was also like very beautiful too. Because like I said, I thought like, if you're going into the Akashic Records, you want to have a tool that is reflecting the high level of consciousness. So the more beautiful a pendulum is, the more intention that was put into building it, it has a higher level of consciousness than something that was just randomly built or something that was just made by people who didn't really care about, its energy or anything like that. So thank you for your patience while I get this
No
picture
worries.
here. I take a lot of pictures of my pendulums. So I've just got to find the picture here. It's going to be 1 second. It's almost there. But yeah, that's a good one. I also have this pendulum. It's a flower of life. It's like an egg pendulum. I'll show you that. But here's the Akashic Records one. I'll pull it up on this. Oh, okay. Of course, I forgot to do the screen share. Let me just open this. Sorry for the delay. So the basic thing is, yeah, I have created specific, all of my pendulums will work. Don't get me wrong. But if you really wanted a specialty one that was just, specifically, now this pendulum will also do anything else too. Oh, is it possible? Oh yeah, there's share screen. So this I can't share screen, unfortunately.
Okay. I think it's because I've got the control, I think, of the recording. That's probably
Okay. Well, I'll have them soon on the website. It's gorgeous. I'll show you the egg one instead since we.
Oh, here we go. Try that now.
Okay, so here's the egg one. And this one is based on the flower of life.
That's beautiful, yeah.
Yeah, the energy on this thing is off the charts. This would be an amazing one for working on the Akashic Records. But even the other ones I sell, like this one, the Aladdin or the Orion, these will also work really well too. But let me see if we can get this.
Try that and see.
Oh yeah, it's working now. Thank you very much. So here's the Akashic Records one.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah, so I really wanted to create this one. This particular version of it here is plated with titanium, and then it was heated so that the titanium would make these different colors to just add some beauty to it. I also sell it in
Erich.
Yeah, this pendulum is really good. It's very fast. So if you want answers to a question, boom, it shows you very quickly yes, no, or if you're dowsing a chart, it just goes immediately to where you want it to go. It's like not that big, but it's also very ornate and beautiful, but also has really good energy. So if you are doing like a healing while you're in the Akashic Records, this will work really well for that.
Wonderful. And what was the other one you were going to show us? I think there was another one you were going to show us.
Oh, the egg one. Yeah, the flower of life. It's like a cosmic egg. It's this one
here. How would you use that one?
The same way. It's just, whatever you're trying to do.
Is there like a specialism with it or?
Oh, well, it just has really good energy. So in addition to using it like as an energy healing tool, like just you can say commands with it and send it. But you could also just put this over someone's body and it will just start spinning around and it will just infuse them with all kinds of energy. Nice. It just feels really good. Like if you're clairvoyant or clairsentient, you can really feel this thing from a pretty far distance. When I first took it out of the bag, I was like, when I first created it and I got my first one, I was like, I took it out. I was like, whoa. My wife was like, oh my goodness, what is that thing you've made there? That's amazing.
Well, this is the wonderful thing about all the Pendulum Alchemy is it's limitless, isn't it, really? Because you can literally do it on anything, anyone, everything.
And it works on animals, children, corporations, world governments.
Everything is energy.
Everything for healing. I mean, you can do it for the most mundane thing, like to help you find a parking space. To like
in your car when you're driving.
Yeah, exactly, right. Or to help you in a legal thing, or to heal yourself from something as simple as like a headache, or something as severe as, some major illness or something. Now, granted, it doesn't actually heal you. It just makes it more likely that it will heal. So like with healing work, I always stress, work with doctors, work with medical professionals, work with other people, homeopaths, flower, whatever it is you were doing with your healing, but then use the pendulum to assist them raise their consciousness and help them do a better job. Also use the pendulum to help you find a solution, but then also use it to help stimulate your own body to heal. So yeah, you can use this for anything. I mean, people have done it people have told me that, I've done it several times when the internet connection went out. I just sent healing to the internet connection and then it would turn back on. People have told me that I had a dead cell phone that that it wasn't working for some reason. They would do the pendulum on it and then it would start working again. Now, granted, I would still recommend going and getting a new phone after that. People have told me they've done it on their automobiles, their car wouldn't start or something, and they did the pendulum and then it started. Now, I would always stress, please get your car checked out by a mechanic after that. You can't expect that to happen all the time, but it does. You can do this for anything you want to have happen or increase the likelihood of occurring.
Wonderful. Amazing, Erich. Amazing.
Thanks,
And I seem to remember you had an offer as well for our listeners, which was very generous.
Oh, yeah. I don't remember all the exact details, but basically I want to give away, was it one or two of my healing pendulums?
Yeah, I can't remember, but at least one. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so I want to give away some of these pendulums. So I'll give away a pendulum from my collection here. And I'll also give away a few copies of my book on pendulum commands, which is a very popular international.
I can highly recommend it. That was the first book of yours that I bought, actually.
Oh, great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, I've now got 3 of them, but that was the first one I bought because I thought it was really useful to get really strong commands. And you can basically, it's lots of different areas and you work your way through the different areas. So it's amazing books. I can highly, highly recommend.
That one's been just published in Mandarin, Chinese, and it's also in German. So you can read it in multiple languages. But yeah, I try to make everything user-friendly. I try to base it on, what people want to know, help people get the information quickly. I also try to add in a little bit of scientific scrutiny or analysis with it. So it's not, I am very woo-woo, they say in America, I'm very spiritual, very out there, but at the same time, I try to keep it grounded.
Yes, I find
it's not completely, because some other people who are doing this work I'm doing, they're just completely ungrounded almost. It's okay, that it's cool, but I personally want it to be connecting earth to heaven. So kind of get in the middle of it, the bridge. Absolutely. Sort of.
Yeah, so, definitely. Yeah. And how can people find you?
Oh, I have a website called pendulumalchemy.com. So you can go to my website. I'll just share the screen again, if you don't mind, for the homepage here. Also, I have a Facebook group, Pendulum Alchemy. I have an Instagram page, but
don't worry, we'll put all the details. We'll put all the details in the show notes. So
definitely.
I'll make sure. But that's where people can get your pendulums and yours. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, pendulums. I have courses. I have a lot of pendulums right now. I have even more coming in. All these different kinds, because people are drawn to different ones. Ones have different energy. So lots of different options there. Cool. And and then the books, there's the commands guide that you bought. Thank you very much. And then I have the training program too for people who really want to really learn how to do this and go to a high level with it. And the training program is cool because it covers fundamentals. But then also I try to teach the fundamentals so that when you're in the program, you can accelerate and then make it your own practice and then really get creative with it. So I base it on the old idea of apprenticeship where someone apprentices with a master to learn the basics so that they can then become a master themselves. Sure. So I really want to empower everyone who takes my training, whether it's the certification or any other training, that yes, I'm going to teach you fundamentals, teach you what I know, but I also want you to develop your own skills, your own perspectives, your own genius, your own way of doing it. Because I feel that's really important too, because I learned so much from the students. It's amazing. And so I also feel I think everyone who does this has something to contribute, and that's a part of our ascension, so to speak. We're all helping each other to ascend. So I don't want to have some master, teacher, master relationships, master student thing going on. I want to empower as many people as possible to use this tool to help them make their lives better, make the lives of others better, while raising your consciousness so that you can further your spiritual evolution on the earth and become a more loving, more caring, better human being,
Beautiful.
and help others with that too. Because
Yeah.
sometimes we need a gentle
I
helping.
really like that. That was very evident. That came through your books a lot, actually, about how it was all about, we're here to do the best work we can for the highest good of all, basically.
Oh, yeah, thank you. And I see that too with your work. So it's awesome. I was really honored that you would contact me about this.
Thank you. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on. Thank you. And how can
people
have a chance to win the pendulum? How does that, should we?
I don't know, because
We'll
I'll
make
trust
a plan.
Yeah, I thought you were going to get a lottery or something.
We will make a plan. We'll put it in this.
Or we'll make a plan for that, and we'll make sure it's cool. But yeah, so however you normally do it, I'll go along with it and be great. And I'll send the pendulum and or the books directly to whoever is the lucky winner, or your karmic destiny to win it.
Well, that's very kind of you. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. My pleasure.
Well, we will have all of Erich's details in the show notes. So obviously you can find him. I definitely recommend checking out his books. They're really, really good. And as I said, thank you so much, because I really feel like I've learned so much, through reading your books, and then I'm integrating it into my work as well. So I think it's exciting times with all these modalities like merging into one, but lots of incredible results happening, and all of these things helping our ascension journeys.
Yeah, thank you very much. My pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to the Dharma Life podcast. I do hope you enjoyed this episode. Please come over and say hello on my Instagram, our Facebook group, and also please let me know what you thought. So if you are listening, please take a screenshot of the podcast that you are listening to. Tag me on Instagram and I will reshare your post, and please let me know what it is that you got out of today's episode. Remember, when we do our Dharma, we are happier, healthier, we live longer, and we have a deep sense of unshakable inner peace.